Girls Lax with me, Ronnie Davis, and Craig the Spaz Man Simmons.
What's up? How y'all doing? Let's do this.
Spaz, we're going into sectionals this week.
Yeah,
right.
It's that time of the year. We always talk about it. The second season,
the
one that matters.
If you lose, you're out.
One and done.
And a lot of games last week factored in to the obviously the schedule this week.
Absolutely.
Of who's playing who, and if we jump right into Class D, I don't think a lot of games last week had a huge impact on it, but it looks like Pelmac is on a collision course for Minders, correct?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so. I've said since the beginning of the year, though, that Pelmac is going to win Class D. They're going to win regionals. They're going to go down. They might win on Friday. And then, they'll run into a buzzsaw from the Hudson Valley or Long Island, but not the last time we've seen it. And we are speaking to E.J. Burst today, the head coach, and we'll, talk to him about that. But I've said from the beginning it'll be Pelmac.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're gonna play Livonia first. Livonia has struggled so far this year.
Sure.
They had some coaching struggles. I think they finally got one in place. They got a couple players out there that have been, carrying the weight for them. But, you got Lauren Connors out there as probably their leading scorer. But I don't think that they're going to be much of a match for the trio at Pelmac that we talk about with Jamie Walker and Andra Savage and Emma Arnold.
Yeah, and they did play earlier in the season, and Pelmac won that game 16-2. And I think that's one of those games where the coach respects the situation, and it could have been worse.
Sure.
But I'm just saying, I don't think Livonia will have an answer for Pelmac. No.
Right. And so let's go to the phones right away with Coach Burst and see what his outlook on the weekend. Coach Burst, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Welcome to the Rockstars Girls Lax podcast with myself, Ronnie Davis, and Craig the Spazman Simmons.
What's up, Coach?
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Coach, big tournament coming up. If you lose, you're out. So you've had a great season so far. You got a trio there for you: Jamie Walker, Emma Arnold, Andra Savage, who seem to be putting up a lot of points. And as Spazman and I was just talking about, you really can't overlook anyone. But your first round game is against Livonia. You've already beat them 16-2 this season. What can you expect from them this time?
I think we played them so early in the year. I anticipate they'll be an improved team. I think most teams as the year get going, and with a brand new coach there, I think it takes time to install your system and your philosophies and stuff like that. So I anticipate they'll be a better team than they were last time we saw them. That's for sure.
All right, Coach, this is a Spaz, man. Thanks for joining us. Listen, you're going for 3 in a row. You're trying to get the three-peat. How driven, and we don't want the diplomatic answer. We want the real answer. How driven are the ladies by going after the three-peat?
It's definitely a goal. I think it's something they talk about all the time. I think with that goal comes a little bit of pressure. We talked about 4 years ago we lost to HFL in the finals. We came back the next year with a brand new Class D, and we got to feel like we were the hunted a little bit. We'd never won. We were talking about why couldn't it be us to win the first one. And then we had a big graduating class, and there was some questions on whether or not we could come back and do well in the Ds. So again, the next year we got to feel a little bit like we were the hunted. We got to have that chip on our shoulder. This year's been different. We returned a lot of starters. We probably were the favorites coming in. I'd like to think we were. And I think we are now kind of in a different situation. So they've handled it well. I was a little nervous about just how they would handle being the quote unquote favorites, and they've worked really hard, and I think they're very driven for that goal.
Now you got 3 players that are really standing out in the stat column, and with Jamie Walker and Andra Savage and Emma Arnold. Andra is coming off a knee injury a little over a year ago. How's her progress coming along? And obviously Emma Arnold going to Ohio State, probably your best two-way midfielder, in my opinion. Those 3 are going to be the catalyst, to take you through this tournament, and then in the state tournament. How's are those 3 gelling? I mean, how's the temperature with those 3 running the team?
It's been very good all year. I mean, they've played together in season for a number of years now. This is Jamie's 4th year on varsity, I believe. Emma's 5th and Andra's 5th. So they've been together for 4 solid seasons. They've played a lot of different roles. as younger kids, and then kind of now culminating in them being the upperclassmen and working together. And to be honest, it's been pretty refreshing on whoever has the better matchup, whoever is having the better game, they go to. There doesn't seem to be much competition on stats or who's leading the game. They mesh very well. And with two of them being attackmen, they still, all three girls can play anywhere on the field and are very willing to do the little things. Like you said, they stand out in the stat column, but they'll work for the small possessions to get someone else a goal, not just for their own success.
Hey, Coach, let's punch that 800-pound gorilla in the corner right in the mouth and get right to it. I know we don't want to look past Livonia or who you play in the next round. If you get past Livonia, be it Marcus Whitman or Waterloo. But let's prognosticate you get through Section 5. And this is historically based, so we can talk about it without, throwing other teams under the bus or overvaluing yourself. But you get through Section 5. We go out and we go 4 for 4 against the regional out there in Section 6. And then we go down to Cortland. You win on Friday. Then you run into the Buzzsaw that's a Long Island team or a Hudson Valley team. And I've asked this of other coaches, what can Section 5, even 3 or 6, what can the upstate sections do to compete with these downstate Long Island Hudson Valley teams?
I think that is definitely like what people look at. I think in Class D, as much as any class, that's not always the case. Now, obviously, Medituck won last year. Bronxville was in the finals the last 2 years. But Skinny Atlas, had a really nice tournament 2 years ago, and we were in a 3-goal game with them, tied at halftime. So I think if we show up and we play our game, you have the opportunity to beat the teams that are within kind of a standard deviation of your ability. Now, last year we showed up, and Bronxville did kind of punch us in the mouth, and we weren't ready for that. And some of that has to do with the competition they play all year versus the competition that other teams play. But I don't buy into that as much as some coaches do. I know that statistically those sections win more. But you look at Pittsford a couple years ago, Penn Yen's won a couple, Brighton's won. I think that we just go in, we take it game by game, and we do the scouting we're supposed to do for those teams, and we hope to represent Section 5 well.
Now, your schedule, you talk about the competition you play against. You play a little tougher schedule, if not a much larger, tougher schedule in Section 5 than that looks like you're going to be matching up, on the other way with Minder. Excuse me. You had your way with Minders the first game, but it looks like that's going to be the collision course for the finals. Do you think that your strength of schedule, plays into the fact of preparing you for that championship game in Section 5?
First of all, I wouldn't sleep on Penn Yen. I mean, they had a very good game in the regular season. There's a lot of tradition there. I wouldn't sleep on anybody in D, but I think that's going to be a fun semifinals matchup on that side of the bracket. Second of all, I do think that our schedule is something that benefits us. I mean, we take our lumps, as you well know. We took a tough loss in Canandaigua. We lost a very close game with game-winning score coming in under 15 seconds at HFL. We run into Brighton, Mercy. We scrimmage Spencerport, Pittsford, and Irondequoit. So we hope to replicate that speed of play we'll see later on in these tournaments and try to get our girls prepared. We have a handful of club girls that see that quality of play in the summer, but we also have a lot of multi-sport athletes that this isn't their primary game, and they're very, very important to our success. So we try to give them a taste of what that speed of play looks like that is different than what we might see in a typical season. And I think in the last few years, it has been a nice advantage for us. Even though it's tough to take those losses, it works.
Sure. Well, Coach, thanks so much. We wish you the best of luck here with the sectionals coming up, and we're definitely going to be watching. Thanks for coming on the Rockstars Girls Lax podcast, and we like I said, we wish you guys the best of luck going to this tournament, and hopefully we'll see you down in Cortland.
Thanks a lot. Good luck to you, too.
All right, thanks, Each.
Thanks, Coach.
I thought that was a great answer from him on the last part of the way he's preparing his team to play in not just sectionals, but try to go on to states because they've been there the last couple of years, and I think he sees it. I just think Pelmac needs to get beyond those 3 kids and get those other kids developed a little better, and I think that they'll give them a little better shot.
How much in that situation, and again, this is one of these Bob Vila questions where I know the answer, but I want to put it out there for everybody listening. How important is the experience factor? Because they, like we said, they're going for their hat trick, the 3-peat. How important is that experience at the level of play that we're at right now, the second season?
Well, besides the fundamentals that you teach your kids, and if you want to be able to win big games and be in those experiences, you have to teach the kids how to win. Kids have to be taught how to win, or else when they get in a competition and things start going awry, the other team, if they know how to win a game, they're going to win the game. And I think that comes with over time. I think he's been there the last 2 times in the States, and he's gotten beat both times. Now he's playing some better competition in Section 5. So I think that he's, ramping up, those experiences. So maybe it's a different expectation this time going into States.
To walk it back, you said you have to teach kids to win, which is so hard to do in today's society. Because we're being taught to we're a lot softer now than we were when you and I were being coached. As a coach, how difficult is it for you to teach kids to win and to want to win in the kind of society that we're living in today?
Well, the difficulty comes with the amount, the contests, and the experiences you're giving the kids. I'm a believer that if you enter a tournament and there's a scoreboard on the field, that you're going to play for that scoreboard. Okay. If you go to a tournament and there's no score being kept, that's okay too. Now it's time to work on, some different aspects of the game. But if there's a scoreboard on the field, you have, as a coach, you have to manage the game and you have to play to that scoreboard, because kids have to understand what that scoreboard means as they get older. Maybe not in second or third grade or third and fourth grade. But as they get older, there's a scoreboard on every field, and they have to learn how to play to that. And I think that's one major important part of kids' growth, is understanding there's a ball, there's a stick, they got to pick it up and throw it in the goal, but they also have to look over and manage that clock.
I've always, it's a good answer. I've always taught my kids whenever I'm coaching that, and I've told the parents, it's okay for your kids to want to win. It's okay for them to want to win. And we're just in a different area, or a different era, I should say, where we're not supposed to teach the kids to want to win. But life isn't fair, folks. Now, when equal isn't fair, or fair isn't equal, was being applied to my kids, I didn't like it. And then I realized, wait a minute, that's not a bogus excuse. It's a legitimate thing. And I don't know, maybe I'm sidetracking or segue. It's a good segue into, it's okay to teach kids to want to win.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter is that you sign up for it as a parent. Okay, parents have to take responsibility for what they sign their kids up for.
Agreed.
You have so many parents that complain about their experience after they signed up for it. And one example, we're talking about someone who was chiming in on Twitter the other day about the seedings in Section 5, right, and how they're done.
Yes.
Well, you know what? My Canandaigua team and my athletic director, we signed up to play in Section 5, right? It stated very clearly in the handbook that this is how the seedings were going to be done.
Yeah.
If my athletic director didn't want to put Canandaigua in that situation, we didn't have to. It was our choice. So I think that parents need to understand they choose to put their kids in those situations, and they have. That means if they choose to do that, they have less to complain about when the rules are very stated clearly, right? You go to a tournament in the summertime, and it's weighted by wins and losses, and if the wins and losses don't come out right, it goes by goals for, goals against.
Mm-hmm.
That's not always the best situation to win a tournament, because if you play a team that you're going to end up beating by 20, but you don't want to run it up on them, what do? Do you run it up on them so you get more goals for, goals against, or do you save the humiliation part? But it stated that before the tournament, and we signed up for it, so that's how we're going to play.
You know that going in, and you know what? It's like the court system. I always say you can't support it when it works out for you, and you can't throw it under the bus just because it didn't work out for you. And that's another one of those situations. If you sign on that line knowing beforehand, you can't complain about it afterwards, in my opinion.
Right, but you look at the way the seedings came out, right? In Class B in particular. I thought I was number one. I thought Canandaigua was going to be number one.
Yeah, we thought you had it.
I thought it was in the bag, and then some other schools either won or lost, and Spencerport beat Fairport, and that elevated Spencerport to the number one spot. that it is what it is. I'm not mad about it. Now you could look at and say, well, Spencerport's got a little tougher road along with Penfield and Brighton because Mercy, they jumped up to the number 3 spot, right, in Class B.
Yep.
So, and well deserved too. They won some games. They won the games they had to win. Either they were, Section 6 teams or Section 8 teams or whatever they may have been, but they came in with a 12-4 record and they ended up with more points than Penfield and Brighton. Okay? If it was done another way, Mercy wouldn't be number 3.
Sure.
If it was done on wins and losses and head-to-head. But it was done on the power ranking, right? So now in Class B, you have Penfield has to face off against Brighton, okay? And then the winner of that will have to beat the winner of Spencerport Victor. Me, on the other hand, I have to play Webster Schrader tomorrow in Canandaigua, right? And then I got the winner of Irondequoit and Mercy. Now, there's a lot of people out there saying, well, he got the cake, road to the sectionals. And I don't see it like that because
not at all.
Because Irondequoit came in and they've beaten Brighton, right? And
they beat Mercy during the regular season.
They beat Mercy, they beat Brighton, and they beat Fairport.
Yeah.
So, they're no cakewalk.
That's not a walk.
No.
Absolutely not.
And Mercy, as we talked about, I know their personnel, they've won some games. So, whoever's out there thinks that I got a cakewalk, is a little misled.
Just a little.
Now, I'm going to look forward to the matchup between Brighton and Penfield and let them fight it out then against Spencerport Victor. But by no means am I taking Schrader, easy Tuesday night.
You can't, because you have a target on your back, and like we've said, at this point, it's one and done. I think, though, we have somebody on the line.
Well, Craig Camp on the line, Relentless Hustle 2020 coach.
Hey, Ronnie, how you doing, bud?
Coach Camp, thank you very much for joining Rockstars Girls Lax podcast with myself and Craig the Spazman Simmons.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Craig, thanks for coming on the show today. We appreciate it. This is the one part of the show I kind of wanted to discuss a little about. You've coached the Relentless Hustle 2020 team for several years now. You got a lot of kids on that team that are committed to some good colleges, but they're also sprinkled out pretty much in Section 5, but the majority of them between HFL and Brighton.
That's true. I think there's 9 total just in those 2 schools.
Right. So that's a lot of kids from one club, on either Brighton and HFL. Brighton's in Class B. You guys are in Class C. And I'm not going to put you in a bad situation, but I got to ask the tough question. You got a ton of kids on HFL. From Relentless Hustle, they've tended to struggle against the bigger schools. Obviously, they're the number 1 seed in Class C in that bracket. And then you got, your other half of your team that plays for Brighton that has done a really strong job this year. They come in, I think, ranked 4th or 5th in Class B, but they've won a lot of big games, and they've won a lot of games against some really top opponents. They beat Penfield, they beat Canandaigua. What do you think the differences are of the half your 2020 team is on Brighton dominating Section 5, and the other half is on HFL, and they're kind of struggling a little bit against those better schools?
Well, obviously, I can't speak too much about the high school programs. I know both the head coaches are quality head coaches that teach the right things, do the right things. I think the most glaring difference will be, Coach O'Connell's philosophy of not bringing kids up. He struggles with bringing players up to varsity before he feels they're ready. Or sometimes, like in our case, the 2020s being a 5-6 kid group of kids that have been playing together, he kind of wanted to keep that, keep them playing together, keep that bond, I guess, for a better word. So those kids, our 2020s that were at HFL, this is their first varsity year, whereas I do believe the majority of the Brighton girls were called up as freshmen.
Coach, I've got a 2-parter for you. First, thanks for joining us. All right, so with the club thing getting bigger and bigger by the year, it's been, growing exponentially every year. How important is the role that clubs play in helping these kids get to the next level and play in college? And what do you say to the people who say that 5, that 6, that 7-year-old, that's too young to be playing any kind of club or travel lacrosse.
Well, yeah, it's funny. I'm also on the HFL board for youth, and we struggle with that conversation all the time, but the reality is that there are a number of very good clubs out there, and each one of those clubs offer a different level of commitment. They offer a different level of coaching, a different level of play. And I would tell any parent that has the time, the energy to spend, to let their kid play. I mean, there is no substitution for putting the stick in your hand. I mean, back in the day, Ronnie and I, we would practice on the high school wall or play around and try to get 100 or 1,000 touches a summer. I mean, that right now doesn't even get you on the modified field anymore. These girls need to play. They need to see the game in real speed. They need to see, play with other very good players to try to raise their lacrosse IQ, to try to raise their game. So, but like I said, Rochester, we're so lucky. I mean, there's at least a dozen clubs in Rochester, and you can find a really good fit, not only on your skill set, but just on the level of commitment you're ready to make.
Hey, Coach, so you're kind of in the same situation I am. When you go to the HFL games and you got a lot of your players out there on the field, including your daughter, Mackenzie, I do the same thing when I go to Pittsford. I find myself, wanting to tell my daughter what to do and tell, the other monster kids on the field, they should be doing this or that. How tough is it to sit back for you and watch someone else coach your players in a different way and sometimes not being successful? Where when you coach Relentless Hustle, you are successful. You're a very successful team, but I find it very tough. But I like to get another perspective on it. How tough is it for you to sit back and watch someone else coach your kids and then rack up some losses once in a while?
You're killing me, Ron. You promised me this would be a cream puff interview, man. Now you owe me. It's super difficult. So. As you know, I also coach the varsity boys at HFL, so I get it on both ends. I sit by myself, and before every game, I stop at the gas station and buy a couple of blow pops, and I just keep a sucker in my mouth the whole time, and I try not to say anything at all. It's an extremely difficult thing, and not only obviously it's a little bit more accentuated for us as parents and coaches, but just parents in general, they want to see their kids succeed. And if you don't understand what the coach is trying to do globally, what your child is doing individually in that moment may make no sense to you. And you might be out there telling her go to goal or jump in or get the girl or whatever it is that, you feel is the right thing to say. And I've realized, Kevin O'Connell is also a friend of mine, and he's a great resource for us at Relentless Hustle as well. And I just have conversations with him sometimes. I'll be like, hey, can you just fill me in? And he does, and then it makes sense. But still, like you said, as a parent, as a coach, you look at what's going out there and you shake your head. But I think that is honestly the best parents are the parents like you and I. The best parents are the parents that sit back and bite their tongue, let their kids be coached by somebody else, let them hear a different voice, let them, as bad as it sounds, let them fail if they need to fail for a moment. And then my daughter Mackenzie's great. She'll come home to me afterwards and she will talk about the things that she wants to talk about, and we will address those things. If I can help her, I will. If I can't, I'll just listen. And at the end of the day, that's how our kids develop coping mechanisms. That's how they figure out how to play the game, and how to be successful in life. But no, it's wildly difficult, Ron. Wildly.
But clearly your conversations at home are much different than mine because, when McKenna sits down at the dinner table, I'm like, I say, so why didn't you inside roll on that? And shut up, Dad. You don't know what you're talking about. Coach Lopez told me to go high on her.
But listen, no, that's exactly how my conversations go. She'll open the door and I'll ask her a question like, listen, if you're stacked away that's a lot of real estate. I mean, Nosnego doesn't see that much real estate. You got to go to goal, and you'd be like, that's not my role. My role is this. That's why we don't talk to you, Dad. I'm like, all right. So, after the 10th game of the season, I just started listening and seeing what I can offer. But it's definitely tough. I mean, I think, like I said, the number one most important thing you can do is just support the kids. And as a coach, HFL plays Brighton. I go watch Brighton hang 20 on us, and those are our girls on both sides. I know I show up with my HFL jacket on, and underneath is my Relentless Hustle shirt. I'm cheering for both teams, getting looked at sideways by a lot of the parents. But there's a lot of great lacrosse going on right now. And being a parent is a tough thing to do, to be a parent and a coach. So I give you credit, too. I sip on myself.
Oh, good. Well, thanks for coming on the show, and I just wanted to let you know, under my Canandaigua jacket or my Pittsburgh sweatshirt, I'm wearing an Action Towing T-shirt, and so Craig. Craig came.
Did you tell him why? Did you tell everybody?
No, I didn't tell any story, but thanks for coming on the show, and Craig Camp, Relentless Hustle 2020. He also owns Action Towing. So if you need a tow, if you need your car fixed or anything like that, 359-1500, call Coach Camp.
Who does he send the check to?
Yeah, well, I know.
Yeah. Hey, keep up the good work, man. You guys are doing a service, man. Keep it up. You sound great.
Thanks,
Craig. Yeah, so Craig's a great coach.
Sure.
He used to coach at MCC boys. He's the HFL boys coach now. So he's, I would love to have him, come work, at Monster Lacrosse someday, because he does a really good job, with the kids and so forth. So a good, piece to ask him the questions, and he's going to tell it to you straight out. So,
well, one question I didn't get to ask him, but I can ask you.
I'm sorry, that's my bad.
No, it's not your bad. No, that's the flow that we've got going. That's just fine. So, the good thing is I can ask you, because you're a club guy as well. Mm-hmm. At what point do you think, as somebody who's been involved with the youth all the way up to the high school, see what I did? I remembered not to put my hand up. At what point do you think you should start teaching the youth kids to run the same kind of things that the varsity's doing? Because I get this in basketball. You get a varsity coach come down to third grade and said, or football more than anything else, these are the plays we're running, and we want to start using the same terminology. We want to start using the same kind of plays. And at what point do you think that should factor into, what's going on in the lower teaching echelons?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, as a coach and a parent and someone who's been around youth lacrosse for a while, I don't think that you can start teaching concepts to the kids in 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th grade. I don't think you need to. I think, this is a sport where you need to be able to pass and catch and run
fundamentals.
And shoot. Fundamentals. So, my philosophy is just stick skills. Fundamentals, dodging, passing, shooting, catching, everything that goes into that. I run a zone defense in Canandaigua, right? I had the experience of watching my youngest daughter Hannah, play in a basketball game when she was in 4th grade, and the other team's running a zone defense against a 4th grade girls basketball player.
Yeah,
these kids can't even shoot the ball to hit the rim, and they're in a zone defense to try to win a 3-4 game.
Yeah,
and so I think that's the example of the things you just don't do at the younger levels, right? You got to teach them defense. You got to teach them the fundamentals. When I start teaching concepts, when the kids, in maybe 7th and 8th grade modified level, we want to throw some stuff in to start ramping them up. Definitely at the JV level, going into the varsity level. That's where we want to start teaching the concepts. We have 6 teams going to the NGLL National Girls Lacrosse League tournament this weekend. Monster does in Maryland, and we haven't really put in an offense with any of them yet. But they can pass, they can catch, they can shoot, they can dodge, and they're going to go down there, and they may win some, they may lose some, but the fact of the matter is we need to teach them fundamentals before we can start teaching them concepts of zones. I always
say at the younger ages, it's interest. And then once you get interest, you build fundamentals, and then you worry about all that. When I'm coaching, I start with fundamentals, and I go to defense. The last thing I put in when I'm coaching is offense. I think we need to go to the phone line.
We got the phones. We're going to talk to Taylor Sampona, a midfielder from Pittsford, so we'll jump into Class A. So let's go to the phones with her. Taylor Sampona, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Ashley's here too.
Hi, Ashley. So, Spaz, we're here with Craig the Spaz Mad Simmons and myself.
What's up?
Clearly, we're talking to a set of twins here. So,
yep.
We've talked about these two on our show. They are committed to Louisville. They play for Pittsford. Pittsford's got a big game against Fairport tomorrow, as we know. Taylor, I'll start with you first. You got some friends that are on Fairport that play on your club team. One in particular, Morgan Schwab, but then you got Emma Monte and Kate Marfiotti. That's going to be a battle for you guys tomorrow night. How do you plan on going into that game plan, knowing that those are your three buddies over there, but you got a game to win in order to get to move on to the Section 5 finals?
Yeah, I think that on Thursday it's obviously going to be a really good battle. I think that when it comes game time, you kind of got to put the friendship on hold for like those 50 minutes and kind of lock it in. I think that if we play for a really hard 50 minutes, I think it will be a really, really good game. And so, yeah, I mean, when the game's over, like, we go back to being best friends and we'll always be teammates. But I think for those 50 minutes, you really got to focus.
All right. So you're both going to Louisville. Was there any point in time where you were talking about going to different schools? And what was the factor that got you both to agree to go to the same place at the same time?
Oh, that's a funny question. Yeah, I think, generally speaking, I think from the beginning we both knew that we kind of wanted to go to the same school. We always joked around that we were a package deal, that we really wanted to go together. So I think that during the whole process, we both really looked at schools that had a really good culture, and obviously the lacrosse is part of it, but the academic as well, and the teammates and the team and everything. So I think that was a huge part in our decision, and I think since that was something we both valued a lot, it was made it easy to kind of make the same decision. Yeah, and I'll tell you, we always knew we really wanted to go together. We're best friends. I don't think we ever spend more than, 3 hours apart. So I think that we definitely knew that we wanted to go together. And so I think that was kind of a no question kind of answer. And we both fell in love with Louisville. We both could not imagine going anywhere else.
Now, me being involved in your recruiting process, it looks like it came down to Louisville and Northwestern, Spaz. They had, those were the final two. And Northwestern this weekend is in the Final Four. Louisville, unfortunately, didn't make the tournament. They struggled in the ACC. But, these two kids, in talking to them, the part of the driving force was they wanted to be a part of something that was growing. Scott Teeter, the coach at Louisville, brought them out there, showed them what Louisville was going to be. They went to Northwestern with all the brand new facilities out there. Tough decision to make, but it seems to me like they chose the tougher route, right? The less popular route. So, girls, tell me about the reasoning why that Northwestern obviously is an established program going, but why Louisville as compared to Northwestern?
I think generally speaking, I know we've talked about it before, but with Monster, we kind of started with Monster how when Monster first started as a club, we were playing at the Ironic Weight Tournament, winning the Ironic Weight Tournament. And I think then eventually we kind of got into Lax this year in the big name tournaments, and we were able to compete with the M&Ds and Yellow Jackets and Capital and all the top teams. And I think being us able to now, as coaches there as well, and playing our last summer, being able to see the impact and all of the teams now being able to go to Lax this year and our 22 team won it. And being able to see that, I think, is something that we were part of. It was a growing program. Monster was a growing program and is now established.
So you went there because it was, you grew with Monster from the beginning, from day one, ended up being very successful, your 2020 team being very successful against all the top teams in the country, and now you're at Louisville, okay? Let's say you show up on Louisville on September 1st of your freshman year. What's the goal?
Well, I think obviously the goal is to win a national title at any school, but I think that going there, working hard every day, working to better yourself as a player, teammate, everything, just learning a ton, and I think just kind of fitting in and impacting and as a player on Louisville any way I can. Defense, offense, ground balls, whatever it means. I think we just want to go there and work hard and do whatever we can do to help Louisville be a better team. Yeah, and obviously win a national championship is the goal. It's the ACC. That's one of the toughest conferences, and I'm so excited because I think that we do and we will have a very good team, and I can't wait to see the growth that we have in this 4 years.
We were talking earlier about At what point is it too young to play club ball, whether it's lacrosse, basketball, whatever, soccer, whatever we're talking about? How long have you guys been playing? Have you always played together? And how instrumental has whatever you've been doing and when you started it in helping you to get to Louisville next season?
Yeah, so a lot of our friends actually started playing when they were like first grade, kindergarten, and we kind of started later. I think we started, fifth grade, end of fourth grade, fifth grade, fall. And yeah, we just started with the Pittsburgh Rail, and then eventually Ronnie took us under. And yeah, at first I was like, well, but that's kind of a lot, I thought, for being fifth grade. I mean, now look at it, people start so young. But I think once you start club, I think it helps so much with the fundamentals. And Ronnie really, pushes that on Monster. And I think once you go to club, I think it really does help your game. And I think that it really does help you grow as a person. And yeah, I think I owe a lot of my success and all of my going to Louisville and that kind of stuff to Monster and to Ronnie, because he really is one of the best coaches I know and people. And I think that because of Monster and because of the constant practicing, you practice 3-4 days a week. You have outside of, lacrosse practices. You're on a rebounder. You have tournaments in the summer. I think that all together really does help you grow as a person and player.
Well, girls, I thank you for that. Appreciate that. And, I feel the same about you guys. Going into this week, you got Fairport first. Obviously, you're not going to overlook Fairport.
No.
And if you do get by Fairport, it looks like you're going to have Rush Henrietta. You've already beat Rush Henrietta once this year. In Spazman and I's conversations after that week, I thought that that Taylor, Ashley, and Casey, your midfield line, dominated that game and was the biggest factor in that game. Your guys' domination over their midfield. Obviously, that can change, but going into thinking about the Section 5 championship, are you making any changes? Are you doing anything different to going into that?
I think just generally speaking, I think we go into that game knowing that we have to play 50 minutes. It's going to be a battle either way. I think it's a game of runs. I think in our first time playing R8, we really capitalized on our runs. We had some really good runs where attack was able to put it in the net, and then we limited their runs defensively. Grace played huge, made some great saves. I think our defense played really well, making key stops. So I think if we go into that game, obviously Fairport as well, knowing that we have to, make very limited mistakes, and then, we have to win the draws and do all the little things right. I think that's always the game plan going in and hoping for the results that we want.
All right, good. Well, girls, thanks for so much coming on the show. We appreciate it. We're looking forward to watching you play Fairport and then hopefully on to play Rush Henrietta. And thanks for being a part of the Girls Rockstar Girls Lax podcast this week.
Thanks for having us.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
So to jump into Class A real quick, right, where we had them on the phone, it's the seedings came out. Obviously, power rankings again put Rush Henrietta number 1, Pittsford number 2, Fairport 3, and then then Pittsford's got to play the winner of Greece and Hilton, which competitively, as we talked about before, that's probably not going to be a real competitive game. But who do you like in Class A?
In Class A, I'm going to go with Pittsford. I'm going to stick with Pittsford. Donovan Lopez, I just think they're going to be too strong, especially at this time of the year. I just think they're on a roll. They're too strong. Now, to walk it back real quick, I get the whole seedings thing. I get it. People need to understand there's a difference between rankings and seedings. There's a difference. And with seedings, I prefer wins-loss. First tiebreaker, heads up. Second tiebreaker being most defensive goals allowed, not the most scored, because if you go with most scored, like you alluded to earlier, then you're talking about instead of beating a team 19-1, you're beating them 29-1, and so I prefer what I do with my youth basketball league is I have the second tiebreaker being most defensive, most points allowed. So then you're putting it on defense. You're not putting it on offense and encouraging the running up. But with the way things shake out, in a seeding where there's only 5 teams, it really doesn't matter that whole lot because everything is going to work. everything's going to work out the way it should.
Yeah.
If you ask me. And I think like we're talking about the NCAAs, everything is chalk. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So most of the time they get it right.
Right.
So.
And with Fairport, they haven't had a great season, right?
Up and down.
They have the ability. They got some good players. Like I said, Morgan Schwab and Emma Monte, both top Division I picks. Sarah Falk and Mia Brunken, doing their thing out there. But the one thing that stumbles me with Fairport is they haven't been able to win the big games. They haven't been able to win, the real competitive games. And so, even, our last game of the season was, I believe, Fairport, Canandaigua, and it really wasn't much of a game. And then Spencerport went and played Fairport, and it really wasn't much of a game. So, my question is, is Fairport going to be able to get these girls to compete when they play Pittsford, or are they going to lay down for them? Like I said, Russian Red doesn't have to play anyone really in the semifinals. So I think that's going to be the elephant in the room is can Fairport and will Fairport, be able to put a 50-minute game together to go out and compete with Pittsford? Because I didn't see it against Spencerport with Fairport. I didn't see it against my own team, Canandaigua, which I was very surprised about.
That's a fair assessment, and I don't see it happening. And I see Fairport or Pittsford. I see Pittsford handling Rush Henrietta, and I think Pittsford's going to Western New York. They're going to go out to Buffalo. So High Stadium, are they still playing the games there at High Stadium? High Stadium.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I think they're going out there.
So that's now we'll jump over to back to Class B, which has 13 teams. Now it's down to 8. Yeah, right.
It's still loaded though. It's crazy.
Victor wins a 1-goal game against Webster Thomas on Saturday. I think that was the closest game of the play-ins. So Victor gets the 8th spot. What's funny about that game is I wasn't there, but my wife did go, right? And Victor was actually down by a goal, right? And, it's funny, we have Victor has a girl named Kylie Gelbert, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She has a knee injury. She's tore ACL last year. She's cleared to play, but she's only in month 7, right? So she hasn't seen 1 minute of time for Victor. Now, this kid was Victor's leading scorer last year, right? Yeah. And when I tell you this kid is dynamite, she is. I mean, she's a great lacrosse player. She's going to go to a top Division I school. And so she's sitting on the sidelines, right? Victor's down by 1. She's got the knee brace on, has not seen 1 minute of playing time all year. Coach says, Kylie, you're in, right? I guess a girl got hurt, puts Kylie in. Kylie scores the game-tying goal and assists on the game winner in the last 7 minutes of the game. Victor wins the game. I mean, that is like storybook.
She's ready.
There, right?
It is. You can't script that better than that. So now does her presence play into the next round?
Well,
is that going to make it harder for Spencerport or not?
I don't know. I'm not sure how much, I haven't had a lot of conversation with Victor, so I don't know how much they plan on using her. I mean, remember, she's only in month 7.
Yeah.
Her biggest summer of lacrosse is this summer because she's a 21. She's a sophomore. So, the real big picture of her playing in front of college coaches is actually this summer. Right. So if she gets another month of rest, that builds up her leg a little stronger. But I don't know if they're going to use her this weekend, or not, or this week or not.
But how much does the physical ability come into it, or does it outweigh the psychological ability to come back from from a knee injury like that? You know what I mean? Is she going to come out and is she going to go soft because she doesn't want to re-injure? Or is she going to go all out? What do you know about her?
The soft is not in her DNA.
That's what I'm looking for.
She's coming out and going hard. So that's why I'm not sure how much she's going to be used for Victor this year.
Okay.
In the final, in the next game, obviously the 8 they had to play. They got to play Spencerport.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how much they're going to use her. That's I'm sure Spencerport's wondering the same thing, but if they do, I can assure you they're going to be much more competitive against Victor or against Spencerport than if they haven't.
Okay.
So that'll be a question. The next seeded game is Mercy and Irondequoit for that side of the bracket.
Whew. That's that's a tough one to call because, like we said, Irondequoit beat Mercy during the regular season. So who you going with in that? Are we talking about who we going with, or?
Well, yeah, we can do it, but talking about both teams, Irondequoit, is kind of on a roll. They've been doing pretty well, right?
Yeah.
They beat Fairport, they beat Brighton, they beat Mercy. So I'm not sure how much the momentum is going in Irondequoit's way, but all I know about Mercy is they got players, right? I'm interested to see how how they manage Caroline Murphy, the Murph dog from Mercy, right?
Okay.
Sammy Carey's back. Probably not full strength, but her presence on the field, she's still continues to be the third leading scorer. I think she's missed 5 or 6 games. KJ, we've talked about her, Kristen Johnson.
Yes.
Right, can score in bunches.
They're 1 and 3 in their last 4.
In the last 4, so they don't have a lot of momentum going. But
they beat Schrader, Livonia, lost to Mercy, and then beat Aquinas.
You mean Mercy?
Yeah.
Those are Mercy's games.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's because you had been talking to them.
Yeah. So,
about them, so.
All I know is they're individually very strong. If Coach Yandak can get them to play as a team, with Carly Harnish-Figure also on that midfield, she scores in bunches, fantastic athlete. They got players, Camarella, and Kutaya, the Penn State commit who's anchors their defense. Aaron Andrucci, who also plays defense for them. So they got some really good players that if they put it together, I think that they can beat Brighton. I really do. Or I'm sorry, Irondequoit.
Irondequoit's won 11 in a row.
They're on a roll. It's tough to stop that momentum, but it's going to be a great game. I can tell you that much.
The only problem is when you're talking about a team that's won 11, you think they might be due. They might be due to drop one.
Yeah.
So you got to look at that. If you ask me, I'm going with Irondequoit.
Okay.
I'm going to go not by a lot. Not by a lot.
I'm going to go against you. I'm going to go with Mercy.
I got you.
I had the privilege of watching a couple of their players recently practice. And, basically when you watch Caroline Murphy with the ball, your jaw will drop because she's so athletic and she just runs by everyone and her shooting has become much better. So I'm going with Mercy on this one.
Right on.
I don't have a preference, obviously, but I have to get through Schrader. And, obviously Schrader can put up a battle against Canandaigua because they got, a big scorer in Annie Mulhall. But they also have a rock star goalie in Jordan Concordia.
Absolutely. So, and that game can be heard on Chosen Spot Radio.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And Tuesday at what time?
6 o'clock.
Right.
Pre-game 5:45.
So we jump into the other side now, okay? And we got Penfield playing Brighton. They're going to have to battle it out.
You're talking about number 4 Brighton and number 5 Penfield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brighton won the first round.
Yeah.
This year. But handedly, I must say. I think it was like 10-5 or 10-6.
At what point in the season was that, though?
Like it's the third part.
Yeah.
It wasn't that long ago.
But we've also seen a lot of games, as Coach Burse had alluded to, that took place in the beginning of the season, and they're might be a different team towards the end. So
and it's tough to beat a team twice in a season. We we know that. But
it is.
But who do you like there? You got Penfield or Brighton?
The only caveat there is it's at Brighton. And I have said before, while remaining diplomatic, it's tough to go into Brighton and beat Brighton. Who did it earlier? Was it Rush Henrietta? Who?
Rush went there, and Spencerport went there.
Yeah,
Spencerport went there.
It's tough. I got to go with Brighton at home. I have to.
Okay.
I got to go with Brighton at home.
I'm going to go with Penfield.
Okay.
I think that.
I think you're just going to say whatever opposite.
No,
I got
Penfield historically, gets better as they go on in the season. So
sure.
I think that they're
valid.
They're pretty well coached, and I think that they're going to make some adjustments compared to the first game, and I think that they're going to end up winning that game.
I just think we've seen what Coach Curtis is willing to do to win a game. We've seen that, and I think we might see something of that nature again here at home.
Right.
I just think it's going to be too tough for the Patriots to go there and win that.
Right. And on a note of Coach Curtis, I got to say that I've caught some flack in the past week or two about a former podcast that we had because I said about him that he retires when a shot clock goes in.
Sure.
Right? And I meant no disrespect by it.
Right.
And a lot of people are like, he's an 18-year coach, and you shouldn't have said that, this and that. Look, it's my opinion.
Shoot straight, brother. Right? Shoot straight.
And if someone wants an opinion that wants people, maybe they can have their own podcast, right?
Yeah.
But I said it, that's what I thought,
I
that when that comes into play, but he's a good coach. He's a great coach. He's probably a Hall of Fame coach if he's not in the Hall of Fame already for Section 5, right?
Okay.
It was my opinion when he was going to retire. That's all. And if the people out there that are offended by it, okay, I'm not sorry.
They'll get over it.
They will.
They'll get over it, man. Trust me. They'll get over it.
Obviously Spencerport, Victor, right?
Yeah.
Who do you got?
Spencerport.
Okay.
Yeah, Spencerport I think is going to be too good for Victor. I think you. I don't want to. You guys are on a collision course. I think.
Spencerport and Canandaigua.
Yeah. I think that's the way B's gonna shake out. Right. I think.
To be honest with you, I hope that's the case, because I think that's going to make for a great Section 5 final. And there'll be a lot of people there, and the lights will be on. So
yeah, absolutely. And of course, that game could also be heard on Chosen Spot Radio.
It can live. So that I think that's the roundup for this week of what we're looking at. The semifinals are Thursday and Friday night for all classes, and I look forward to being back here on Monday to talk about who's winning.
Absolutely.
I knock on wood. I hope Canandaigua we're able to get through Schrader and then get through the winner of Irondequoit and Mercy, and then hopefully the collision course will be set for Spencerport the following week.
It's a great time to be alive if you're a lacrosse fan, man. There's no question about that. We going to do the top 5?
Absolutely.
Top 5 in Section 5. Cue it up, Fitz. Now, I believe you went first last time.
I did. So you're up first this time.
All right, here's what I'm going to do. You told me a couple weeks ago, maybe last week, no rules.
No rules.
Right? I can do what I want. First, I have a sponsor for my top 5 in Section 5.
Oh, nice.
FLX Software.
FLX Software.
FLX Software. Nick Sargent. He writes programs. He does websites. FLXsoftware.com. So my top 5 in Section 5, I'm not only going outside the box, I'm pouring gas on it, setting it on fire.
Okay.
All right. I'm going with in honor of it being national tournament time, my top 5 former Section 5 players who have been playing in college.
Okay.
Okay. So number 4 is Anna Leva.
Okay.
Anna Leva.
Love Anna.
Out of Palmac. Hold on. Let me see if I can make my notes a little bigger here. My notes aren't going to grow up for me. But Anna Leva, she is, what do I got here? Sophomore in Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Derp. She was my offensive player of the year in the Finger Lakes when she was a senior. Number 4, Cassidy King.
Okay.
Goalie out of Canandaigua, playing at UIndy. They did get eliminated, but she was the Rookie of the Year and the Goalie of the Year in her conference.
Okay.
All right, so that is number 4. Number 3. Oh, by the way, these have all been on Chosen Spot Radio. All these players have been interviewed by me on Chosen Spot Radio or have been a player of the game or of the year. So there's that connect as well.
Okay.
Allie Panera is number 3 from Pittsford. You know her very well.
Absolutely.
Yep, out of Pittsford, been playing at Ithaca.
Yeah.
Yep, doing very well. And number 2, Maddie Howe.
Okay.
Out of Notre Dame. You were wondering which one I was going to go with for number 1, right? Maddie Howe, sophomore, Notre Dame, 27, Fairport. How many goals she get? 59 goals this season. She number 2.
Okay.
That's all there is to that. And number 1, the Chuck. Emily Ryschuk. Yep. Ryschuk. However you want. Harishuk. For some reason, I thought I remembered interviewing her, and she said Ryschuk. I don't know. I can't remember. But she's the bomb diggity there for Syracuse. They came up a little short. But she's got 75 goals this season, 19 points or assists for 94 points. Came up short of the 100, but look what she did in a season that we celebrate everybody else doing in a 4-year career.
Yeah.
So she got 94 points, and those are my top 5 in Section 5, former Section 5 players that are in college that were on Chosen Spot Radio at one point in time or another. and brought to you by FLX Software.
Okay. Well, you missed one, and I'll go over that
I missed someone, and I can't. For the life of me, I can't remember who it is.
I will share that with you in a second, but
please do.
But I'm going to venture over, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go with the players and maybe even some coaches that are top, that used to be rock stars in Rochester. Right?
Okay.
So my number 5, is going to go to Coach Danielle Spencer for Dartmouth. Okay. In her second year there, they made the tournament.
Okay.
All right. And I think she's going to be on our show next Monday.
Excellent.
Okay. I spoke with her today. She was busy today, but she said she'd love to come on next Monday.
Cool.
So Danielle Spencer gets my number 5, and I like to do a little add-on with my picks. She's at Dartmouth now. All right, but there's several jobs that have opened up and are opening up in Division I. Ohio State, Lafayette, Delaware, Rutgers, right? All these big jobs are opening up. The assistant at Penn State. So I think that you might see Danielle Spencer as a Buckeye.
Okay. Can I sidebar real quick?
Yeah.
I'm interested. I'd be interested to talk to Emma Arnold or anybody else who's committed to these schools. She's committed to Ohio State. Would that be a different train of thought, knowing that coach that she was there when she committed isn't going to be there? So it's interesting. Are there any other commits from Section 5 going to the colleges that you had mentioned?
Yeah. There's a lot. You got Madigan Lublin, who is committed to Rutgers, right?
Okay.
They lost their whole coaching staff. Anya Lucy, who from Pittsford, who's going to Lafayette, they lost all their coaching staff. So it'll be definitely interesting. And I think we can get some of them on the line next week.
Excellent.
To talk about that. But my number 4 pick is from Irondequoit, and we talked to her last week, from Virginia, Lindsay Rogers. Okay. She's the assistant at UVA. They went, they lost this past weekend, and we said we'd be in touch with her again on Monday if they won.
If they win, yep.
But they didn't. They dropped a game to Carolina.
Yeah.
Carolina's playing really well. The girl that you're missing, in your
I know
list
it's somebody.
is Michigan Caitlin Muir.
Okay.
Michigan.
I knew it was somebody.
Did real well this year.
Yeah.
Caitlin was, if not their leading scorer, in their top 2 leading scorers from HFL.
Mm-hmm.
She had an outstanding year, sophomore year for Michigan. Michigan jumped way up in the rankings this year and had an outstanding season. So you can look for Michigan to be doing really well fairly soon. And I think Caroline Cullinan goes there too. So they do have a couple Section 5 kids on that team.
Yep.
My number 2 is Maddie Howe. Okay. Love Maddie. She will be on the podcast next Monday.
Excellent.
Okay.
Excellent.
Did speak with her.
I want to ask her if she remembers me interviewing her.
No, I'm sure she does.
She's one of the players that had to, get on a ladder to look me in the eyes.
She is a bright kid, and she don't forget much. So looking forward to talking with her about her experience at Notre Dame and how, the next couple of years looks for her.
Excellent.
And then number 1, I'm agreeing with you, Chuck.
How can you not?
Right.
How can you not?
I spoke with Emily. I spoke with her compliance officer today, hoping to have her on next week. Maybe she'll be in town. Maybe she can join us in the studios.
What is the correct pronunciation?
I call it Harris Chuck.
Okay.
Okay. But let's just call her Chuck.
Okay.
She had an outstanding season.
Yes, she did.
Led the Orange in scoring. Not just led the Orange in scoring, but she took the draws. She was their true leader. And
end to end,
did everything for him.
Yeah,
and I think that Emily is one. I don't know if you've ever met her, but she's probably the nicest kid you'll ever meet in your life.
I met her when she was in high school. Mm-hmm. When I was calling games for I believe that was the first year of Finger Lakes Online Radio. Then I became Chosen Spot Radio.
Right,
but
and that's the great thing, to be honest with you, especially about Emily and Maddie Howe. Right, is not only are they great players, but they are fantastic kids.
Didn't you say Emily still lives at home?
She does,
and
goes to all her siblings' games, all that.
That's cool.
So these two are outstanding individuals, and they're going to be real successful in life because of their family kids. Everything they do is right, and you don't see that every day with a lot of these kids, it looks like, because we talked about society and how things are going, and with
entitlement.
Exactly. You don't. Yeah. I'm not seeing that with some of the other kids that are actually, and I'm not going to call them out, but they're actually in Section 5 right now. Right. That I see that they're going to schools. I like their lacrosse game. I'm fans of their game. I'm just, I'm becoming not fans of them in particular.
I get it. And that's Fairport Hots.
That's my Fairport Hots.
Yes.
Right? And Maddie Howe being from Fairport. That's my Fairport Hots top 5 in Section 5. So,
and I believe I was told that they are redoing the turf there next year.
In Fairport?
At Fairport.
I don't know what's going on over there.
I'm pretty sure that Coach Mahar told me that they're doing it after the fall, or that it is getting done, and they are the first to admit that it has to be done,
right?
And it does.
My besides my contact with Coach Mahar and Coach Monty and Mara Karp, is I really the last conversation I had in Fairport was when
there's something interesting going on over
I
there.
actually was applied for the Fairport girls job 2 years ago, right? And I didn't even get an interview, and so that's how
that's their loss.
That's what I told my team after we beat Fairport, right? I said, I thank you guys so much because I applied for the girls' job in Fairport, and the athletic director didn't even give me an interview.
That was personal.
It was personal, and you know what? I personally sent him a message the other night when we beat them by the score on the scoreboard. So I didn't send an email, I didn't send a text. I did it through my team, and my team did a service for me that night, and I love them for that. And when I told them the story after the game, right on the bus, the feedback I got from my team, right, was, Coach, we love you. We're so glad that it didn't work out in Fairport, and you're with us in Canandaigua, and that meant a lot to me.
Well, they're buying in it. They love you, Canandaigua. They're buying in, and I've told you myself away from this, I hope you come back next year. And that's not. I don't want to throw you under the bus, but I know Fitz wants us to get to wrapping it up here. But with that said, what I like about doing this podcast with you, not to rub your rhubarb, I'm just telling you that I like that you shoot straight. And that's what people, I think, like about Ronnie Davis, the person and the coach. You don't cover anything up, you don't hide anything, and you're not afraid of anything. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And, I thank everyone for listening today. Fitz, great job today.
Always.
On the boards. And we will see you guys back here next Monday at 12 o'clock. And there's going to be a great week of games coming up. If you can, get out there, watch all the games you can. Email us with any comments, criticisms, whatever you might have, so we can talk about it on next Monday. And have a great week, and we'll see y'all next Monday at 12 o'clock.
See you.
Rock Stars. Rock Stars Girls Lacrosse. Rock Stars Girls Lacrosse. The Rock Stars Girls Lacrosse Show with hosts Ronnie Davis and Craig Spazman Simmons.